Hello and welcome to today's episode of the Work at Home Rockstar Podcast. I'm excited for today's guest. We are talking to a partner at Conscious Counsel, and what they do is they make law feel empowering and not overwhelming. So I'm very excited to be rocking out today with Chad Sonkin. Hey, Chad, you ready to rock?
I'm ready to rock, baby.
Awesome. We always start off here on a good note. So tell me a story of success in your business that we can be inspired by.
Yeah, for sure. Well, to start on a good note, um, uh, what really we set out here to do at Conscious Counsel is to be able to transform the way law is provided to heart-led entrepreneurs. So really, we work in the space of the health and wellness space, which is like gym owners, yoga studio owners, Pilates studio owners, even online health and wellness business coaches. And what we aim to do is transform the way law is provided to them by providing airtight industry specific legal agreements, so that if God forbid, and helping them practice what we like to call proactive law, so that if God forbid some type of incident were to happen, somebody gets hurt, somebody gets wants to sue for a refund or for all the other reasons, that their legal agreements give them the power to be in control of the situation and in the best legal standing possible, so that it immediately mitigates the amount of time, money, and stress that could come from a lawsuit. Um, so just to give you like a couple wins off the bat is we've worked with almost close to 1,800 clients over the last 9 years. Nobody has ever been sued using our industry specific legal agreements. We've ensured that these heart led entrepreneurs that are creating these incredible communities and safe spaces and getting people into their bodies and into wellness are protected, that their family's assets and their personal assets and their business assets are completely protected. And this it could be as simple as I had one of our clients, somebody went over to the pull-up bar, couldn't reach the pull-up bar at the gym. Hopefully, maybe some of your listeners go to the gym, maybe some don't. Nonetheless, went to the pull-up bar, couldn't get up there, so they grabbed a chair. They grabbed the chair,
Uh,
and when they went to grab the chair, they fell off the chair and shattered their leg. And that person decided to sue for $150,000 claim to that business and that business owner. Now, because that business owner had an extremely strong waiver of liability that we were able to create that was industry specific, we are immediately able to show the fault was not on our client and that this risk that materialized was foreseeable. So instead of 2.5 years of time, money, and stress on lawyers, it was immediately mitigated in 30 minutes. And
wow.
our client didn't have to get into that $150,000 lawsuit. So that's just a
Wow.
quick little, yeah, story. And we
Wow.
got a bunch of those.
I bet. Yeah. Well, and that's the thing is that certain businesses, especially in the health and wellness space, I mean, there is a certain level of risk that comes with, most of these practices. And I think that especially people who are trying to help people don't necessarily foresee getting sued for something like that because
Yeah,
their heart's in the right place, right? I mean,
right,
they're just trying to
right.
help people, and but accidents do happen, and if you don't have something set up, then you could get in trouble for that, right?
Yeah, exactly. And so many times, it is out of their control in so many ways. If somebody gets hurt or, there's other reasons and ways to get sued, even like retreat organizers, right? That's a huge one if you're doing
Yeah.
retreats. Um, but it could be so out of your control, and you could have a good relationship with that person, but there's 2 points to it. Like lawyers kind of have a bad rap a lot of the time. Like people are very intimidated by the law and by lawyers, and it just seems like it's a like expensive hole that just could keep going. So we really aim to help our heart-led entrepreneurs practice like this proactive law so that if God forbid anything does happen, they're in control of the situation.
Yeah.
And in America, in the United States, like anyone could sue anyone for anything. That's
Yeah.
just the fact of the matter. We could have an amazing relationship and you love coming to my studio, but if you get hurt, all it takes is a lawyer or a friend or a partner to be in your ear, like, hey, you should sue. You could get a lot of money for this. You should sue. Where like that relationship is thrown out the window and now you're in $100,000 lawsuit when it could have just been avoided. So it's
So,
serious
okay.
stuff that we try to make fun.
Yeah, it's a big job.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of, big job like that, not everything goes as planned when you're trying to
Mhm.
build a business, when you're self-employed or when you work from home, all that stuff. And I like to talk about the bad notes just as much as the good notes because, if we're trying to inspire people and a lot of people are, a little bit worried about starting a business because they're worried to fail. And I'm wondering, can you share with us, bad notes, something that didn't go as planned and, how you recovered from that?
Yeah, it's an amazing question. And I'm glad to say, like, on our clients' end, there really hasn't been a bad no. I think really like the biggest lessons learned when being an entrepreneur and running your own business is we've made so many mistakes in the process to increase our clients, to increase our revenue, to grow
Yeah.
our firm. Mistakes like on paid advertisements and not and you have to be very careful with the law, and especially as a lawyer with like how you solicit to get clients.
Mm,
We've gone too wide before and have gotten pushback from the IRS, like people that um, can intimidate us as well. So you
yeah.
really have to be like airtight when you're getting new clients as a law firm. And I think the biggest lessons I have learned is instead of aiming to do everything as a small business owner, because you could run paid ads, you could do presentations and stages, you could do referral programs, and there's so many different avenues you want to attack on the marketing side or the lead side. And a big thing I've learned is, okay, let's figure out what works. Like, let's test a bunch of things, figure out what works, and then let's pour gas on that fire. But the point is, like, you have to be consistent in pouring gas on it. I think often it's really easy to see in a small business to see like a shiny object or have a shiny idea and just do that and abandon how you currently do things, or abandon or give less time and energy to what's working. So I
Yeah.
think it's a big lesson we learned is let's not go so wide with things, but let's go deep with what works. And then let's be consistent about it. Let's not quit after a week or quit it after 30 days. Like, let's really double down and day in, day out. I think for us, a big thing that you learn as a small business owner too is like, let's not get tied to revenue, right? Let's not get tied to our monthly goals and our weekly goals. Let's judge success based off of what we can control, which is our
Mm,
attitude, which is our daily non-negotiables and our everyday inputs, right? Let's tie success on being like, okay, what are the things I can control every day that I know will move the needle in a positive direction? And let's judge our success based off controlling those things. And then the scoreboard, the results, that will take care of itself. But if we could tie our success to, hey, let's show up every day and control what we can control, then the scoreboard will take care of itself. That will come. So that was a big lesson we learned in the beginning, I would say for sure.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. And
Yeah.
that kind of reminds me of something that I with like judging, for example, sales based on how many yeses you get. I mean, you can't really control
Yep.
whether someone says yes or no, right? But what you can
Mm-hmm.
control is how many calls you make, right?
Mm-hmm.
So,
Exactly.
it's like I like what you're saying because I mean, if you put up on the scoreboard how many calls did I make? Well, now, if you didn't make the whatever, the 100 calls that you said you were going to make, that's you. That's your fault. You didn't make 100
Mm-hmm.
calls. You could have made 100 calls. Just make 100 calls.
Exactly.
But if you focused on 10
Exactly.
yeses, then I mean, you might have a bad day, man. It might be a tough week, right?
Yep.
And you're
Yep.
now this is not in your control anymore, right? But if you can just say, you know what, I made the 100 calls, I didn't get one yes, that's okay. It's still a win, right?
Exactly. It's still a win. And the next day brings brighter fruit. And there is a great sales book that I read once, and it's Go for No. And I do
Yep.
aim to structure my days on, all right, let's not try to get 10 yeses. Let's try to get 10 no's, 10 no's. And on your way to get 10 no's, you end up
Yeah.
getting a lot more yeses than you
Yeah.
got no's. But it's really being able to control, like mental toughness is a huge part of being a business owner and an
Yeah.
entrepreneur. And getting your brain to, not too high of highs, not too low of lows. And can I do the work and the daily non-negotiables and control the inputs? Can I do the work on the days where I really don't feel like doing the work? And that is something that we work on every single day, that we inspire, me and my partner inspire each other with. It's just, hey, let's control the inputs, let's show up together, let's control our attitude, and who cares what happens, but let's just
Yeah.
leave it all out in the field.
I love that. Hey man, if you
Yeah.
make 10 calls looking for 10 no's and you get 10 yeses instead, is that really a failure though?
Yeah, no, it's certainly not. It's certainly not. I'll take
You
that
failed though.
all
You didn't
day.
get your nose.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh,
Fail
right on.
fast,
That's
fail
so cool.
often, as they say.
Agree. Well, I mean, that sounds to me like a practice because I like to talk about
Mhm.
practicing and getting and honing your craft and all that stuff. But what do you think that means?
Yeah, that's an amazing question. Um, how to hone your craft really comes down to me is a consistency,
Hmm.
like consistency. I really aim, and I have an athletic background. Like, I was a former athlete. So to me, it always comes down to, like, okay, let's win the day. Let's win the day. And there are going to be some days in a small business too, as an entrepreneur, where it's like, maybe if you're a salesperson, maybe you don't have 10 calls on your calendar today, right? So um, practice makes perfect, and be consistent, but then also, like, consistently adding tools to your toolkit. Like, I like to constantly push myself to read new sales books, listen to other podcasts, whether it's entrepreneurial or sales or even marketing or just anything that could continuously help me develop my skills. And that is something that I am proud of myself on, and I would say pride myself on. But it's like, if I don't know what to do in the business, I'll work on myself. Like, if I don't know exactly what to do right here, right now, like, I'll work on developing my own skills, constantly aiming to get more knowledge, read new books, listen to different audio books, listen to different podcasts. So constantly aiming to develop those skills and add new tools, if you will, to my toolkit. And then I think you got to have a little bit of grace, for yourself. You got to have a little bit of, like, you got to love yourself in the process, and not be too hard on yourself in low days and not too high in high days. But you really got to give yourself sometimes the benefit of the doubt of, like, hey, I'm not a robot. Not every single day is going to be better and better and better and better. Like, it doesn't like that. But if you could be consistent, that consistency compounds week over week, month over month, year over year. And then on top of that, is just, a big thing we say is just, like, James Clear, like, just let's just get 1% better today. Like, let's just get
Yeah.
1% better today. Doesn't have to be 20%, doesn't have to be 100%. Let's just, if this is what we're working on today, let's improve this 1% today. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
consistency compounds.
Yeah.
That's for me.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. And I think what you say about the whole 1% thing too, and like, setting those consistent goals, I think a lot of us try to like do too much and then we get
Hmm.
discouraged, right? Whereas
Hmm.
maybe sometimes just setting a like a real small consistency goal that, hey, I can make this one call a day, even if it's that, right?
Exactly,
One call a
dude.
day is better than setting 10 and then not doing one.
And
You might feel
exactly,
overwhelmed, right? You're
exactly.
like, oh, I gotta do 10 calls. I haven't done any yet. Why not one, right?
Exactly, exactly, Tim. Like you hit the nail on the head. And when we're first doing things like whether it's social media messaging or ad spend, it was like at first it was like, let's do 5 of these a day.
Yeah.
Just 5. That I could swallow that. I know how to do it. I'm not going to get discouraged, but let's do it every day this week. Then
Yep.
next week, oh, I got some results from that. Let's do 10 this
Yeah.
week. And now I'm a little bit more motivated. So it's just doing it consistently and letting that
Yeah.
compound. And like you said, like making them small, little achievable goals, if you will. Like don't bite off more than you could chew right away.
Yeah.
You don't need to.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I had this mentor one time when I was doing sales, and they were constantly saying, okay, imagine this is the busiest day. Like, I mean, you have no time at all. What do you
Hmm.
think you could do? You know, do you think you could pull off 2 calls, 3 calls, one call? Like, it's busy. I'm telling you, it's busy. What could you
Hmm.
pull off?
Hmm.
That's what you set your goal to. Not if it's like, oh, it's a total free day, and then you set your goal to be like 30 calls, because you're gonna have more of these busy days than you're not, right?
Exactly, exactly, exactly. And I think you hit the nail on the head, dude. You're gonna have more of these busy days than you're not, and it's just if you could get yourself to show up each day, even on the days you don't feel like doing it. And
Mhm.
what really helps me is having my daily non-negotiables. Like these are tasks that I must do every single day, and making those manageable, and then they grow, right? But it's a consistency compounds, and sometimes you got to endure like I'm not afraid to shovel the crap, if you will. Like, we all want to get to the top of the mountain. We all do. But
Yeah.
like you're gonna have to shovel some crap in order to get there. And I think a big thing nowadays is people are looking for this instant, instant,
Mhm.
instant. And it's like, hey, you got to be willing to shovel the crap. You got to be willing to get scrappy when you got to get scrappy. And it's the people that can endure that and attack that nobly that I think will it's inevitable for you.
Yeah, people don't see that too, right? I mean, you sort of
Hmm.
see someone who's got success and you just think that, oh, you know what? Look at that guy's life, right? But, you
Yeah,
know,
exactly.
that's not how
Exactly.
it started, right? I mean, they all kind of
Nope.
went through these struggles to get
Yep.
to that point, right? We just don't see
Yep.
it, right? Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. Even the greatest leaders we could think of, like most of the time, like I just watched an amazing documentary on George Washington. I must say, like
Well,
I'm enthralled by history. I love it. And it's just like the amount of failure after failure after failure after failure until huge triumph is just incredible. So I like to remind myself of those things, and I think that's what I mean by consistently learning too, and learning stories and putting yourself out there. And it's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to fail. I would encourage you to fall flat on your face. The rep is how quick can you get back up? That's
yeah.
the rep.
Yep. And every time you do it, you get faster and faster, right? It's the way it
Exactly.
works, right?
Exactly. Exactly. Bingo.
So let's talk about the instruments. So, I mean, hey
Hmm.
man, we live in a technological world where there's lots of tools that'll help us to get success in our
Yes.
businesses. I'm wondering, like, what kinds of tools do you use?
Yeah. It's a phenomenal question. Actual softwares that I use,
Man, any tools.
or
It
or
can be a
more
paper
so,
tool.
yeah. That okay. Cool. Okay. Cool. I think the best tool I use, and I want to give you a good um, answer here, but because I think the best tool I use and that we use is really um, surrounding ourselves with people that are also driven and excited and happy to be here, and and everybody's help. It takes a team. It takes a team. So, I could give you softwares. I always have notepad, like, and I'm writing everything I like to write, and I like to make to-do lists. I think that's an incredible tool. But I gotta be honest, the best tool I have is my partner. The best
Yeah.
tool I have is my team. Because you could go success, you could go far, you could have success alone, but you could go farther together. And it really takes a team. And I think my team's my best tool. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's for sure.
Yeah, I agree. Well, they do say, what is it?
Yeah,
You're the average of the five people you spend the most time with.
yeah,
So, right.
exactly, exactly. And we spend a lot of time together,
That's awesome. Right on.
well,
So
on
now,
Zoom
and
together.
that kind of leads right into the next topic about learning from the best. And, I'm wondering, so, you've got a great team around you. Sounds like you listen to podcasts. What other, like, do you hire coaches? Do you have masterminds? Like what other ways do you learn from people?
Yeah, yeah, amazing question. Um, I learn from people in every way. I mostly like podcasts and audiobooks.
Yeah.
I have had business coaches before and mentors that have been amazing. I think I'm surrounding myself with my best friends I've known forever, and they're amazing. But then I constantly do seek out the best. So, whether it's Dan Martell, who is, we could talk about him after, you could search him, but Dan Martell, Naval Ravikant, Ryan Holiday and Stoicism, and Marcus Aurelius, and Chris Williamson is one podcaster I just freaking love. But I seek out these people that are maybe a couple of steps ahead of me, but living a life and making an impact that I and that we desire to make. And I don't think I think a big thing is, like, you don't have to take everything. Like, take what you like, take what works, and leave what doesn't. But I would absolutely say, like, I'm constantly joining masterminds, I've gone on a couple of retreats with other, like, entrepreneurs and leaders, and I constantly am around those types of people. So I think, learning from the best, absolutely. Nick Saban, he's another incredible one I love to learn from. But people of that stature are some that I learn from, and they're the best of the best. So
Right on. So Dan Martell
yeah,
is actually from my hometown. I live in Moncton, New
no
Brunswick.
way,
Yeah.
no way.
Yeah.
That's amazing. I mean, Dan Martell, I can thank him. One day I'll shake his hand in person and be like, "You are brilliant, thank you." But he's just shifting my perspectives and opening myself to new ideas. And I think that's a big thing about it. You got to be open to learning, right? Like,
Yeah.
I'm not, but like, I am not my opinions. I'll tell you that much for sure. Like, I am very open. If you convince me, or like throw a good perspective or idea or thought, and like, I'm very open. I'm not my opinions. This is what I am and how I've gotten here now, but I always want to learn from the best, and I'm open to it. I'm like, I think you got to take the coaching. Like, the best football players, the best hockey players I've ever known, I think any coach would say this, it's the people that are coachable. Like, if I got something in my teeth, like, tell me. I want to know. So, like, if you have feedback, tell me. I want to know. I can take it. I want to get better. I'm here to get better. I'm not, you know what I mean? So I think that's a big piece too, and could be a good, like, instrument of choice, is you have to be coachable. You have to be coachable. So
Yeah. No, I agree with that for sure. And I think that that is an entrepreneurial mindset though, because I think
mhm,
about the people that have been even on this podcast, and most of them are very coachable. They have coaches, they are doing
mhm,
coaching, right? And when you think about, like you say, all the best athletes, it's just one of those things that everybody who's performing at a high level seems to have an open mind for being coachable. However, the vast majority of people that are sitting in jobs that they don't like,
mhm.
are
Yep.
are not necessarily super open to that. And maybe they think, oh, that's too expensive. I don't want to do that. Or
Yeah.
I know it
Yeah.
all, or all that kind of stuff.
Totally.
But I mean, I think that, if you are looking to get into an entrepreneurial venture, well, like you said earlier, you're going to need a team of people around you, which means you're going to have to surrender some of that control, right?
Hmm.
Because, you can only go so far on your own before you're going to need a team,
Exactly.
right?
Exactly.
And then on top of that, there's so much. I mean, you learn real quick when you become self-employed or where you even start a business that the thing that I'm really good at is not my whole business. It's like a real small
Yep.
part of my whole
Yep.
business.
Yep.
And
Bingo.
how are you going to know everything else,
Yep.
right?
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly, dude. Exactly. And it's
yeah,
like, and I think you brought up a good point. Like you can't be afraid. Like I'm definitely not afraid to invest into my learning into my growth. Like this is an exact correlation, but LeBron James spends like 2 million on his body every year to be the best of
yeah,
the best for the last 20 years. So it's like I'm willing to spend and invest on myself. Like that's why we're in the entrepreneurial space in the first place. Like we're betting on ourselves and our
yeah,
abilities. And that a lot of that is like you can't, scared money don't make money, right?
yeah,
Like so I'm always willing to invest into myself and to invest into my learning to be able to reach to that next level.
yeah. Love it. All right. It's time for your guest solo. So tell me what's exciting in your
Yeah.
business.
Well, I'm gonna whip out the guitar and just shred it right now. But
That'd be awesome.
it's what I'm most excited about in our business is we've been able to really consistently grow at a really rapid and compounding rate, which is fantastic. But more so than that, it's like we are truly excited about the impact we're making, meaning like the amount of these heart-led entrepreneurs, these community-driven people, these people out there making the world better and safer and more cohesive and collaborating, and we're able to, provide them with bulletproof legal agreements that are industry specific to them in their practice so that they could focus on growing and building community and doing what they do best, which is running and operating their health and wellness business as an entrepreneur, and know that they have the strongest legal position absolutely possible and that they have legal experts and legal counsel at their disposal to be able to use whenever needed and whenever necessary. And I'm very, very proud to say, like, over the last almost 9 years, we've worked close to 1,800, 1,800 clients. None have ever been sued using our legal agreements. And very proud to say we have over 435-star reviews. So like people love and appreciate our support and our expertise, and it's making a profound impact on a very growingly health and wellness industry and the entrepreneurs in it. So
Wow. So what would you
yeah.
say would be the reason why someone would not have a good legal agreement right now if they're in your
Yeah.
space?
Yeah, amazing question. They might not have agreements, which is
Mhm.
a big, big no-no. But B, there's people are using templates or using Chat GPT, which is not specific to their business, meaning like all the specific equipment you use, all the specific group classes, private classes. Do you have a cold tub? Do you have a sauna? If you're a health coach or a business coach, like this is not prescription, this is educational advice. Common mistakes are like people have a waiver of liability, which most people are familiar with because that you're giving up your right to sue an establishment with a
Yeah.
waiver. But then because they're using templates or because they're using ChatGPT, that waiver also contains their photo release and their service agreement, meaning like their cancellation or refund policy. And right there, like those are types of agreements that just won't hold up in court. It gives you a very weak legal position because if God forbid you do run into something, which eventually everybody does, whether it's in this year or in 20 years, your legal agreement, a lawyer is going to be able to tear those apart and basically show to a legal court that your agreements don't hold up. Your agreements
Mm,
don't explicitly make any of the risks that you're offering foreseeable. So there's so many different types of mistakes and not specific enough um, that people have in their agreements, and it's just because they don't know. They're trying to
yeah.
put something there, um, but really, like often, like a bad waiver is you might as well not even have one half the time because it's just not going to do its job, which is to protect you. And and now more than ever too, like there is something called the corporate veil, meaning like if you have an LLC, which is strictly an asset protection, meaning protects your family's assets, so only your business assets are vulnerable in that regard. If you don't have legal agreements, a lawyer that is suing you is going to pierce the corporate veil by showing this person isn't taking their business seriously. They A, don't have legal agreements, or B, they don't have the proper legal agreements. And that shows to a court like now your personal assets are at risk. So it's
Wow.
so important. It's just about practicing proactive law, paying the money and paying the investment up front and something that feels fair and efficient, and knowing that you could grow for the next 20, 30, 50 years without having to get into a 200,000 $200,000 lawsuit, which is unfortunately like people come to us every day because of these problems. So
Wow. So isn't that expensive though?
which aspect?
Getting a proper legal agreement, like isn't that's probably why they're using ChatGPT in the first
Yeah,
place, right?
yeah, it's I would say I would say it's it's expensive in a way of like, is insurance expensive or is paying for
Hmm.
software to grow your business expensive? If you're a serious business owner, if you're a serious business and take that business seriously, then having no legal agreements or chat GPT is just, that's not something a serious business owner would do. That's not what a very serious, legit business would do.
Yeah.
It's like wearing a seatbelt. You could go 20 years not wearing a seatbelt, and one day you're not wearing it, and God forbid, it could be game over. And it's the same thing with your legal agreements. You could go 20 years without having them, but one day you don't have it, it's game over.
Yeah.
So it's any serious business owner, anybody that is helping and building community and making such an impact on other people, like it protects you and protects them. It would be almost selfish not to take that seriously, in my opinion.
Well, yeah, well, by like I think what how I'm understanding it anyway is that you're putting it out there what the possible risks are that maybe someone using your service might not even really understand, and hopefully they
Yep.
read it. But if they do
Yeah.
read it, well then now they'll say, okay, well that's the risk that I have, so maybe I'll be a little bit more careful, right? When they're going
Yeah.
into it, rather than
Yeah.
just having no idea and then next thing you know getting hurt because they just had no idea that they could get hurt doing this thing, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Wow.
Exactly. And often it could be so out of the entrepreneur, the business owner's control, right?
Yeah.
Like if a third party system gets hacked and your clients are getting charged fraudulent thousands and thousands of dollars because they hacked into your third party payment processor, like that wasn't your fault. But now
Mm.
somebody's suing you because their credit card got charged thousands of dollars, and now your reputation is getting kind of shattered and trust within your community. It's not worth it, all because you didn't want to pay $1,000 for a very clear service agreement, membership agreement. And all these agreements do, what each agreement does is, for any business owner, you put your business in the middle, you circle your business in the middle, and then you need to have an agreement for every relationship you have and conduct in business. So your clients, your employees, your landlord, and the goal there is you just communicate expectations openly and honestly. Openly and
Wow.
honestly communicate expectations, and then God forbid if anything happens, you're in control of this situation. It's immediately mitigated. So
Love it.
that's what we're out here to do. Yeah.
So how do we
Yeah.
find out more then?
So find out more. I'm offering for anyone listening to this a free consultation that will right through my calendar link. It will be completely free. I also have a free legal assessment. So if you are interested in a free legal document audit, if you're like, I have documents, I don't know if they're good or not, we're offering an exclusive free legal doc assessment where we'll give you honest feedback. So either of those two avenues, we're here for support. We're with you all the way, and we'll ensure to take care of you. There's no doubt.
Love it. Is there a website or something we can go
Yeah.
to, or
Yes. There's a website. It's Conscious Counsel .ca, and
awesome?
I'll link it here after this as well. Yeah.
Great.
I'm
And last
making sure
question,
it's there.
hardest one. Who's your favorite rock star?
Wow. Dude, what a hard question.
Yeah, hardest one of the day.
Wow. Okay. In no particular order, I can't give you just one.
Uh-huh.
I would have to say Jim Morrison, Bruce Springsteen, Tom Petty.
Yeah.
Really tough for me to do. Like there's people left off of that list that I don't feel good about, but those are probably my top three.
Love it. Thank you so much, Chad, for rocking out with me today. It's been a lot of fun.
Thank you, brother. It's been great to be here. I appreciate your time.
Awesome. To the listeners, make sure you go to workathomerockstar.com for more information, and we'll see you next time on the Work at Home Rockstar podcast.